Welcome to another episode of Lightspeed Investing. I'm so glad I've got Jeffrey Feldberg back again. He is the founder of Deep Wealth Mastery. Jeffrey, how are you doing today?
Hey, Philip, my goodness, I'm back and I am honored to be here. And it's an actual delight. And every time we talk, I learn some more things and just all about the wonderful things that you're doing. So, hello to you. Hello to the community. So terrific to be back.
Likewise, man, likewise. And today we're going to talk about why everything you've learned about business success is wrong and what you can do about it. Jeffrey, I'm so excited to talk about this because, coming from medicine, right? Our philosophy is always prevention over treatment. Because if one does not smoke, the probability of lung cancer decreases drastically. So similar, to that concept, right? I feel like, that's what we're about to embark on in terms of the topic of discussion today. And why don't you go ahead and kind of share with the audience from a high level overview the 3 points we're going to cover, and then we can go into it.
Absolutely. And so, again, big picture wise, as we go through this for the community, I had more mistakes than I had successes. And when success did come around, it was from the heavy lifting, the lessons learned, and everything that went into that, terrific mentors along the way. So, like I shared in our last episode, when we talk about what happened and the success that came with it, it wasn't as though I just woke up one day, started a business, and everything went so smoothly, and boom, we had a nine-figure deal. There was a lot of pain. There was a lot of learning. There was a lot of mistakes that had to happen first. And what I saw firsthand for me, and it wasn't just for me, because now when we're out there, we're speaking with other entrepreneurs on a daily basis. There are so many myths that people treat as facts that
Mm.
hold us back from a business side of things. It's absolutely wrong. It couldn't be more wrong than what's there. And one of the biggest myths, when you can flip it around and turn it into something that can make you a success, the biggest myth out there is, listen, you're busy right now building your business, running your business, doing whatever you're doing. When it comes time to raise that capital or to have an exit on the business, that's when you can focus on preparing for that. Until then, there's nothing else that you can do. And that is wrong. It's a myth. And that's why at the top of the episode here, Philip, that's why you said, yeah, why everything you've learned about business success is wrong and what you can do about it. Again, look at my journey with Embanet. And in the earlier episodes, shared how the company was failing, running out of my parents' attic, eventually became successful, had that seven-figure offer, said no to that, created a system that welcomed a nine-figure offer. And I'll tell you this, if I would have followed what people said you need to do for a successful business, there would not have been a nine-figure deal. It would have kept at the seven figures, maybe eight figures. And listen, nothing's wrong with seven or eight figures. Don't get me wrong on that part, but so much more was waiting. And so when people say, well, Jeffrey, how did you go from seven figures to nine figures? What was the difference? Philip, you already shared what the answer was in the introduction. It's one word. It's boring. There's nothing sexy about it, but it is
Yeah.
what it is. And that one word is preparation. When you know how to prepare, when to do it, what to do, how to do it, that's what makes all the difference. And that's what we focus on in our 90-day Deep Wealth Mastery program. And in the Deep Wealth community, we talk all about that preparation. So no one teaches you the preparation. It's run your business. Don't come to me until you're ready to raise that capital or have that exit. Then we'll talk. Here's the problem with it. And I'm going to throw it back to you, Philip. Here's the problem. When you show up for your liquidity event, and again, I use those very two stuck up fancy words because they cover so much. You're going public, you're raising capital, you're having a partial exit, a full exit, everything else in between. The one thing they all have in common, all those scenarios, the more valuable your business, the higher your enterprise value, the better off that you are. That said, though, if you just show up and say to your investment banker, okay, take me to market, congratulations, you now have a second full time job. You're running your business. You're now doing the liquidity event. Something's got to give. Usually it's the business because these buyers, these investors, that's all they do all day long. They come in, hey, Jeffrey, what about this? I need that report. I need that report. Or we found this skeleton in the closet, or we found this mistake. You didn't even know about this. That's why, Philip, up to 90% of liquidity events fail. And the
Mm.
quote unquote successful, and for the listeners who are listening to the audio, not the video, when I say successful, it's in quotation marks. Most business owners are leaving 50% to over 100% of the deal value in the buyer's pocket or the investor's pocket. Look at me. If I said yes to the seven figures, I would have left the nine figures. in the buyer's pocket. So it all comes back to preparation. And on that, I'll put a pause in it, put it back to you. Thoughts, questions?
Yeah, well, I mean, preparation is so important. It's so funny because I recently just did another episode, with a business partner of ours who specializes in business funding, right?
Mhm.
And he talks about the importance of preparation as well, because basically, right, if you don't structure yourself like a Fortune 500 company, it's not that you're not one, it's about structuring one so that everything, all the checklists are there for the banks to legitimize you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That helps increases your probability of getting funded, you know? So in this case, right, you're not getting funded, but you are getting that back end, you know, reward and paycheck, right, that could transcend seven, right, into eight and nine figures. And if you don't have the preparation for it, you could miss out.
Exactly. You're, as usual, you're spot on with that.
Yeah, so but I mean, of course, that's the general idea, right? But what about the nitty-gritty? Like, what does preparation actually look like, Jeff? I mean, when should it start? What are the details that and maybe you don't have to share everything here, but the I guess the most important things to watch out for,
Yeah.
and what is like the time frame, right, that you can anticipate to having the foundation set as well, right? So when should it start, and how long? I guess is the overall time frame.
So when we're working with entrepreneurs and they're going through the 90-day deep wealth mastery program, what I love about that, on the 91st day, they've actually mastered the strategies. Not only have they mastered the strategies, they're actually putting into action, how do I grow my profits? Because maybe my liquidity event, maybe it's 22 years away, maybe it's 2 years away, like we spoke about last time. But you don't have to wait to grow your profits, to grow your revenues. And the other thing that I like, unlike a liquidity event where timing is everything, and let's be honest here, in a liquidity event, speed always wins. The quicker you're out of market, the better off you're going to be. So when you're in a liquidity event, time is not your friend.
Mm,
When you're preparing for that future exit, again, 22 years away, 2 years away, time is your friend because you decide how long you're going to take.
I
We've
see.
had other business owners take 9 months to fully prepare. Others have taken 24 months. So let's call it between 9 months and 24 months, typically is what you're doing. So,
Mm,
what do you do? What does that look like? So, I'm going to say two words. And here at Deep Wealth, we have the saying, how do you see a grown person cry? You mentioned these two words, due diligence. And again, two more fancy words, but what is due diligence? Well, in a liquidity event, this is where the buyer is coming in. They're going to be looking at all of your financials. They're going to be looking for areas that you've overlooked. They want to minimize their risk. They want to maximize the return on investment. And like any smart and successful business owner, they're saying, okay, what do I need to know here that could potentially harm our capital, have us lose money, get in the way? And because they do this all day long, they already know what to look for, where to look, and what to do. And so, Philip, let me ask you this. It's a rhetorical question. You know me, I love my rhetorical questions. Wouldn't you rather be the person to find those mistakes before the buyer or investor does? Or are you going to
Yes.
leave it up to the buyer or investor? Of course, yeah, Jeffrey, I want to be the one to find those mistakes. And so in step number 4, due diligence, we have, it's close to 400 points. It's a due diligence checklist. Now, you can go into your favorite search engine, your favorite chatbot, and ask it to come up with a due diligence checklist. It'll do that. There are a dime a dozen. But the point is that you do it. And we look at everything. You're going through that point by point by point. And what we're finding is, what are those skeletons in the closet that I'm not aware of? Forget a liquidity event. This is what is holding back my profits. It's taking me longer to grow. It could actually put me out of business. And once I've done that, once I've identified them, I have two things that I can do. I can either take them off the table, I'm addressing them, I'm forever removing them, it's done. Or if I can't do that right away, it's going to take some time. Let me give you an example. Perhaps I found that I've been doing some online sales and I wasn't aware of some state taxes because those laws just came in place recently. And now I've got to reach out to the states and I've got to cut a deal. I don't want to pay fines and penalties and everything else. Maybe I can do something. Maybe there's some amnesty that they can throw my way for consideration of that. That's going to take some time. But the point is, we've identified all these things and we can talk to them. We can get them off the table. And so that's why, as a business owner, why everything we've learned about success is wrong. because we're not told to prepare for the exit. Oh yeah, Jeffrey, my exit, it's so far away. I don't want to spend any more time. I don't want to spend any more money doing this. When I'm closer to it, that's when I'll focus on it. But Philip, let me ask you this, because by the way, I don't know if you shared with the community, you're winning all kinds of awards. I'll leave it at that. You're doing some amazing things. Your company is growing, your community is growing. My best guess, if we were to talk 3 months from now. So if you told me, well, Jeffrey, I'm so busy right now, I'm growing the business, I don't really have time to prepare. Come back to me in 3 months. Philip, the rate that you're growing in 3 months, you're going to say, Jeffrey, I'm so much busier now than I was 3 months ago. I
Right.
now have bigger challenges, bigger opportunities. Man, I wish I would have done that preparation 3 months ago, because now I have even less time. And this is the problem. So here's the what if. What if we take 60 minutes a day? If you can't do 60 minutes a day, can you do 30 minutes a day? If you can't do 30 minutes a day, could you do 15 or 20 minutes a day? Of course you could.
Mhm.
What if we did that day over day? Small daily actions add up to massive, massive results. And
Mm.
if we can do that and we internalize this preparation, we put it into our culture, we put it into our best practices, guess what? Congratulations, growth is up, profits are up, your revenues are up. And now you're moving towards becoming a bigger and better company. So, in step four, due diligence, this is where we're finding the skeletons, we're removing them. We're also finding, remember in our last episode, we spoke about X factors and Rembrandts.
Yep.
This is where we're uncovering the ones that we didn't think we had, but have always been there. We've taken them for granted. They've been right in front of us. They've been so obvious, but we missed it. Well, we're finding those. And then in step one, big picture, we spoke about that a few episodes back. This is where those launch plans that we're creating,
Right.
we have put into place new X factors to tackle those launch plans that we're putting all those out there. And so really it's a 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. It doesn't even equal 10. It equals 100. That's what preparation does. So if we change the narrative, preparation, otherwise known as due diligence, yes, it can be time consuming. Okay, sure. It can be painful. Yes, there's some money that needs to be thrown behind it to get all that done. But that is the key
I
to
see.
unlock growth and profits. And
Mm.
so that's why the preparation is important. What you're doing today, it's creating a higher ROI down the road. And I'll end off this part of it with one quick story, which I've already shared with you, but let's take it from a different angle.
Okay.
7 figures to 9 figures. It
Right.
was the same Jeffrey. It was the same business partners. It was the same company. We showed up though with that preparation in hand. We knew, and we spoke about this in the last episode, our preparation had us know how to think and act like an investor or buyer. We
Mm.
showed up with very powerful narratives of why tomorrow is a better, more profitable day. We showed up with powerful narratives of how we found all these skeletons and we eliminate them. That's why our growth is up and our profits are up, or the ones that we couldn't quite do just yet, what
Mhm.
we're doing with that. And we're able to show up to the investor and the buyer and say, hey, this is why we're now having this huge opportunity that's there for you. This is what we could do. This is what we couldn't do. This is what we failed at, but this is what you're going to succeed at. And
Mm.
that makes all the difference, because now the buyer is saying, wow, this is a bright and prosperous tomorrow. I want to be a part of that. I want this company. I'm not going to let this one slip. And so that's what preparation does, big picture wise. And again, 9 months to 24 months. Let me ask you this, Philip, again, a rhetorical question.
Mhm.
Pretend your financial freedom was on the line, your financial independence. Would you spend between 9 and 24 months to get it right? Of course you would. And if it was more than that, of course I would.
Mhm.
Well, if the time is going to pass anyways, why not have it pass that we show up and that we have a much better chance of locking in our financial freedom?
Right. Absolutely. And what it sounds to me like is taking the time and the due diligence to actually paint a clear picture to your potential future buyer and investor, right? An absolute clear picture of, hey, what's worked, what hasn't worked. Here's maybe some of our strengths, here's some of our weaknesses, here's what makes us different, here's what we've done to make this operation as pristine as possible before we hand it off to you, right? And perhaps some potential pitfalls and guardrails that you should be aware of before you take it on. So it's like you're creating this executive summary that is, easy to dissect, analyze, and summarize, so that that next person engaging in a baton handoff, so to speak, is going to be very satisfied and also not be, surprised by any hidden elements.
You're exactly right. And essentially, That's what preparation does. The nice thing about preparation, though, because I know some of your listeners are saying, look, guys, Philip, Jeffrey, I really respect what you're saying, but in all honesty, I'm young. I don't have plans to sell the business or raise any capital. And if I did, it's 30 years away. So, yeah, I hear you, but I have lots of time before that. The other benefit of preparation, as important, is it accelerates growth. It allows us to put ourselves out of business into a bigger and more profitable business. Maybe we even create a market disruption along the way. And that's the power of the preparation of why we want to take those 9 months to 24 months, get it done, get it finished, get it out there, and then we reap the benefits. Because, and I've heard this from entrepreneurs, incredibly successful entrepreneurs, they say, Jeffrey, how I run my business will change how I prepare for a future liquidity event. And how I prepare for a future liquidity event will change how I run the business. And so that's why the two really go hand in hand. So we talked about why preparation is important. Let's now look at when should preparation start?
Mhm.
Because again, if you've been on the fence, well, guys, look, 30 years away when I'm going to exit, or maybe I'm not even exiting, I'm going to hand it off to the next generation of the family. And again, let me ask you this: do you want to hand off a family business? Do you want to hand it off when it's in the top form, and then the next generation can take it to a whole new level?
Mhm.
Or do you want a situation, again, a rhetorical question, do you want a situation where the next generation is coming in and the business is in shambles? They've got to pick up the pieces. It's stressful. They've got to figure it out. There's some tense moments. Maybe they do it, maybe they don't. Of course, I want to have a terrific legacy. I want the next generation to really resume a company that is in top form. It's a market leader. It can't get any better because we've already done it. Let them, take it, figure out some innovations to the next level, but it's in terrific shape. And so regardless, everyone has an exit at one point or another, whether we realize it or not. And so the question is, when should preparation start? Because I know some of the listeners are saying, look, Philip, Jeffrey, my dollars are spoken for. Everything that I make is back into the business, or I'm putting it aside for my retirement. I'm busy. I'm growing. I can get to this when I get to this. And like we spoke about in earlier episodes, Philip, last time I checked my calendar, I've never found tomorrow. I'll get to it tomorrow. Every calendar I've looked at doesn't have tomorrow because tomorrow never comes. That's the issue. So when should preparation start? And there's a proverb, there's a saying that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. And so preparation should really start today because
Mhm.
you're going to learn things about the company. Maybe, Philip, you've been in the company, I'm making this up here. Maybe you've been in the seat for 3 decades. And if you're honest about it, you're bored. You're tired of it. You're thinking, I'm so bored, nothing new, nothing exciting. Maybe I'll just call it a day. I've seen this happen time and time again. Let's start the preparation. Preparation comes, and it's wow, I'm looking at the business through a whole new lens. I'm so excited about this. This is fun. I got the fun back into this. Let's do
Mhm.
some new things. Let's get more creative. And that's the other thing that preparation does. It frees up your time offline, Philip. You're saying the smartest thing, Jeffrey. I'm looking at how to automate a lot of things. I'm looking at how not to abdicate, but to delegate so that I can focus my superpowers on the next market disruption that we're going to create, the
Mhm.
next service, the next innovation that we're going to do that's going to make a difference. Well, guess what? That also comes from preparation.
Well, and also what I'm hearing from you is really when you embrace this concept of a deep wealth mastery, it's like, look, if you were Blockbuster and you're looking at the potential pitfalls, right, and adopting to, combat and maybe even incorporate streaming, because if you did that, right, you don't necessarily have to sell, but your profits will probably go up because you don't have Netflix in your way anymore. So what I'm getting at is, from what I understand, just by engaging the process, and this actually entices me to, you're an indirect salesman, right, Jeffrey? Because this is enticing me to look at my company with the deep wealth mastery lens even more, because I'm like, even though I'm not maybe positioning it to exit, like now, by doing this, I can actually grow and scale my company even
That's
more.
right.
That's
That's right.
that's really
Yeah.
like what I'm getting out of, I mean,
Yeah.
just from what I'm hearing, because
Yeah.
I'll be doing the right things. I'll be able to address the skeletons. I'll be able to identify and understand here's our biggest strengths and our X factors. Here's some of the inflection points that we'll probably run into. And then that gives me an idea when they do occur, to engage with them, right? With confidence and clarity,
That's
and
right.
strategy as well. So really, this is just a great model to enhance, your current business operations. And
Yes.
if you want to consider selling it, right, that's another possibility as well.
Absolutely. And Philip, you said it much more eloquently than what I said. And as usual, you're spot on with that. So earlier, when I referenced that the preparation can help you grow and increase revenues, increase profits, well, how is that happening and why is that happening? Because the narratives that we're creating from the preparation that we're, down the road for the future investor or buyer, the narratives that we create, it's the good old Pareto's law. 80% of those narratives are the same. It's the last 20% that we're changing. And so let me share with you in my e-learning company, Embenet, the one that we did the nine-figure deal with. And that was incredibly successful. And when the investors came in and they had all, held on to that for a little while, and then they had their own liquidity event, it was also incredibly successful. The nice thing with this is I'm going out to the marketplace to our existing customers, sharing the narratives with them. And they're like, oh, wow, I never really looked at Embenet in quite that way, Jeffrey. That narrative that you're sharing, that, yes, I was, to be honest with you, they were saying, I was thinking, do we renew? Do we not renew? We're definitely
Mhm.
renewing. And with the prospects, they weren't customers. We're sharing these narratives and they're saying, wow, you know what? Let us become a customer of Embenet. And if so and so is a customer of Embenet, why not us? Let's do it. And so even though the exit, it could be years away, or maybe it doesn't even happen, who knows? It's the same preparation that allows us to grow the business. And to your point, Philip, we've had entrepreneurs coming in. Yes, I want to have a liquidity event. I want to have an exit. Nothing more to talk about that. They've gone through the process. They're having so much fun. You know what? I thought I wanted to have an exit. I really don't. I want
Yeah,
to hang on now for who knows how long. I'm having so much fun. I'm making all kinds of profits. I'm changing lives. Let's keep the good times going.
absolutely. Yeah. So in a way, it's just kind of like an injection of um, a success blueprint, because what I'm hearing is by looking at the blueprint and following it, you're kind of having this out of body experience as a current owner, where you're evaluating your own enterprise from the perspective of someone valuing it, and saying, hey, if I was to buy it, right, if I was to be an investor in this, would it make sense? And then that
Mm-hmm.
allows you to be, right, from operating from the seller side of things, just make things more pristine and more enticing. And by doing so, you're naturally going to grow your company. And then at that
Yes,
point, if you decide to actually keep it, right, you can keep it. But now your company has actually grown, in ways that you never would have, had you embraced this preparation, right? As opposed to just ignoring.
exactly. And Philip, what I really love about the Deep Wealth Mindset Roadmap, and again, this is embedded in Deep Wealth Mastery, and these are the exact same strategies that were used for my nine-figure deal. So it comes from the trenches. We're the only system out there based on a nine-figure deal. When you do the preparation, it's not just helping you on the business side.
Mm,
It's also helping from a personal side, from a mindset side. Because for your listeners out there, let me ask this question. As the founder, as the entrepreneur, as the business owner out there, when things are going clickety click for you and they're really working and success is just everywhere, do your clients feel the same way? Do your employees, do your team members feel the same way? Or are they having a different mindset? Now you may
mm,
be saying, well, wait a minute. Come on, Jeffrey, Philip. From when it comes to my employees, we pay them because of us. They have a livelihood. Of course, their mindset's the same. I don't think so. Go check out Glassdoor and see what they're saying about your
right.
company. A terrific website that everyone should be checking. So one of the things that comes out of step 4 due diligence is step 5 winning mindset. How do I make sure that my win is also a win for my team, for my clients, for my prospective clients, for my
Mm,
suppliers, for my board, for my stakeholders? And that's often overlooked. I was speaking with a client the other day. One of the advisors is going down a different path, and there's a lot at stake for this particular client. And so we're talking about, okay, how do we change the mindset for this advisor that your win is also a win for the advisor? And some of the listeners may be saying, well, wait a minute. I'm paying my employees, I'm paying my advisors. What's to talk about? It's not about the money. Your
No.
employees, they can get a job somewhere else. Your
Mhm.
advisors, they can find another client. It's not about the money. Usually, money is fourth or fifth on the list. So we tune in, we talk a lot about the world's favorite radio station. We've talked about this before, Philip, WII.FM, the What's in It for Me, from your stakeholders' vantage point. So, what do we need to do for all the stakeholders to make sure that they're happy? So, Philip, you mentioned Blockbuster, and in one of the earlier episodes, we talked about how the modern day David versus Goliath tale is Blockbuster versus Netflix. So,
Mhm.
here's a perfect example. The executives at Blockbuster, their mindset was we're profitable. We're the 800-pound gorilla in the industry. We're the biggest. We have a store on just about every corner. Everyone knows us. Okay, well, that's their mindset. The mindset of their customers, as an example, was quite different. I'm paying all these late fees. I hate
Mhm.
it. It's annoying and it's really a pain in the you know what. And I have to now drive to the store and they're not doing the streaming. It's a very different mindset.
Right.
Had Blockbuster done step five, winning mindset, and they now had an alignment of everyone's mindset, there's
Mm.
no telling what would have happened. Maybe there would not have been a Netflix, maybe
I
it would
love
have
that,
been
man.
Blockbuster. We'll
Yeah.
never know. But what we do know, because they didn't do the preparation, because they didn't tune into step five, winning mindset, they really planted the seeds of their own future demise.
Right. And really what you're getting at is, the importance of having everyone aligned so that all parties involved are profitable and engaged in a win-win situation, right? So the
Absolutely.
idea is not, only are you the executive of the company or the firm, profitable and winning, right? But you're not winning at other people's expenses. You're not winning while others are suffering and discontent, right? And disgruntled, right, with what's going on in their lives. Because if they see that you're winning, but on the contrary, they're not, that creates that gap, right? And that's where, eventually it's going to come back and bite you. So making sure that everyone is, satisfied across the board, right, in unison. That's, I think, the main message you're getting across.
Philip, you're absolutely right. And the nice thing about a step five winning mindset is a perfect segue into step six advisory team. And so for the advisory team, again, it's not just about the liquidity event or the exit. Before you have that, well, you're working with accountants, you have some tax specialists, you have some wealth managers. On my podcast, the Deep Wealth podcast, I had an investment banker on, and this fellow, there, it's fully transparent. What's on his mind, he lets you know. And we're talking in the podcast. And what it came out is he shared what every advisor, not just investment bankers, but every advisor thinks, but they're not going to tell you. And he said before he takes on a client, he said, Jeffrey, look, I've worked very hard in my career. I'm now at the point where I can choose my clients. Just because you come to me, just because it may be a big liquidity event, well, that's nice for you, but it doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to take you on because there's only so much time in a day.
Mm.
At this point, AI isn't at the point where I can replicate myself. So I only have so many clients, so many liquidity
Sure.
events. Down the
Right.
road, maybe that will change. There's only so many liquidity events that I can take on. And he said, I ask myself one question before I take on a client. I said, oh, what's the question? Why am I going to make you rich? I said, excuse me? That's right. He said, Jeffrey, why am I going to make this client rich? Are you going to be you can fill in the explicitive, a blankety blank, rich blankety blank, who is just a jerk to everyone? You're
Mm-hmm.
taking this money. You're not such a nice person. And you're just
Sure.
really a consumer, not so much a giver.
Mm.
Or with this newfound wealth that I'm helping to create for you, are you going to make a difference?
Mm.
What are you doing out there? And it's no, what can I say? It's no coincidence that in step six advisor team, that's exactly what we talk about with a narrative of, well, what are you going to do post exit? What does that look like? This is
Mm.
where we get to have some fun, Philip. I have entrepreneurs saying, Jeffrey, I can only spend so much. My family can only spend so much. I'm going to take the rest of it. I'm setting up a foundation. I'm going to find a charity or a cause that can make a difference. Or I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And this investment banker said, if I had to choose between two clients, one who's a taker, one who's a giver, I'm choosing the giver all day long. If I'm going to take time from my family, from my career, I can only do so many liquidity events. Let it be meaningful. I want to be on a winning team. I want to be with someone who's going to make a difference. And every advisor, they're not only thinking that, they're thinking, geez, I'm smarter than Jeffrey. I'm better than Jeffrey. Why should he be riding off into the sunset with all those zeros and not me? And so a winning mindset is absolutely key. And then knowing which advisors to choose, which to not choose, it's the absolute best. I was speaking with another business owner out there. Unfortunately, they're not part of the deep wealth community. They found out about us after the fact. They're in the middle of a liquidity event. He said, Jeffrey, you're not going to believe it. I should have followed the system. I didn't. I'm in the middle of a liquidity event. I thought the skills that built my business are the same ones to sell it. They're not. I just found out that my investment banker is actually favoring the buyer, not me.
Mm,
Here's what's been going on. What can I do? And I said, well, how long have you been at this? He said, well, it's been a while. I spent a lot of money getting out to market. And I said, well, do you want the politically correct answer or do you want the honest answer? No, Jeffrey, just give me the honest answer. Close down your liquidity event right now. Stop. Find another investment banker and let's do it right from the beginning. And so for step 6 and step 5, again, is that segue to step 6. If you don't have the right investment banker or the right advisor with the right mindset,
mhm,
it's over before it's begun. And it goes back to what I said earlier, over 50% to 100+% of the deal value is left in the buyer's pocket.
mhm,
Because I want your listeners to think about this. When you're doing a liquidity event, you are a one time hit wonder. You're a flash in the pan. You're having one liquidity event in your lifetime. Even if you had another one, 2 or 3 at the most, okay. For certain investment bankers, they tell a good story, but they work with the same buyers year in, year out. Who do you think they're loyal to? Well,
mm,
it's the people that are building their business. It's the buyers that keep on doing business with them. And I've had former buyers on the podcast sharing how they dictated the price for a liquidity event, and that if the price didn't come down by a significant number, they wouldn't do business
mm.
again with that particular investment banker. And it's
Wow.
just amazing what goes on. And so again, that's where preparation of where do I look for the right advisor? What do I say? What's my narrative? How do I get them onto the team? How do I get them excited to be onto the
Mm,
team? How do I create a win for them? How do I become the world's best client for them?
gotcha.
That's where the magic happens.
I see. Thank you so much, Jeff. As always, you've been a treasure trove of knowledge, and this was really, really insightful. To the listeners, I hope you guys have gotten something strong out of this episode, as we always do. Now, Jeffrey, do you have any concluding remarks, comments, and further insights to the audience before we kind of close up this episode here today?
Absolutely, Philip. I would simply say this. Firstly, where I'm coming from, I've been on both sides. I've been on the losing side, I've been on the winning side. And now what gets me out of bed? And Philip, you're asking me offline, you're sharing, Jeffrey, why are you doing this? You had a 9-figure deal. You can do whatever you want to do. And it's really a great question. Why do I do this? Because my mission, my vision is to literally change the social fabric of society,
Mm,
one business owner at a time, one liquidity event at a time. And for the listeners out there, if you can only do one thing, I want you to do this one thing, and that's the preparation. Look at your business through a different lens, become curious, go to your favorite chatbot or search engine, type in due diligence checklist, put yourself through the paces. What you're going to find is going to surprise you. It'll change you for the better. It may not feel so great at the time, but it'll make you feel better. And this is where you become resilient. You're going to grow your business. You're going to make sure that you're in business to be in business. Why? Because at one point you want to lock in your financial independence, your financial freedom. Preparation is the key that unlocks all of that. And so
mm.
hopefully the listeners will do that one thing. They'll do this today. They'll be thanking themselves tomorrow.
Thank you so much. And Jeff, the best way for the audience to get a hold of you, as always, is
Best way, just send an email, success@deepwealth.com, success at deepwealth, deepwealth.com, success@deepwealth.com. And I will personally get back to you. And if we can be a resource, if we can be of a help, we'll definitely let you know that. And if not, we'll be the first ones to share that. And if we can, point you in the right direction.
well, hey, Jeffrey, thank you so much for your time and energy and all your insights. I know you're a busy guy. And as we conclude this episode, if we're able to have you on again as another guest on our next podcast, we'd love to. But of course, you're a busy guy, so let's just see what happens. And thank you again for all your time.
Philip, thank you so much, and so much appreciation and gratitude for what you're doing, the difference that you're making out there, and wishing you many blessings and much success.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Take care.